Yo, what's going on, guys? It's KingTutsPro and welcome back to another video. Now, in today's video, guys, I'm going to show you guys how to make your Instagram photos or your Snapchat photos or whatever you're going to be using for photos, okay? How to edit a picture with Snapseed and lens distortion, and show you guys how to make an image really pop just by taking photos on your iPhone 7, 7 Plus, and even iPhone 6 and 6S, 6S Plus. You get the drift. Anyways, once you guys open up the app, you're gonna have like this little scroll wheel. It's gonna say like open. I've already have a picture open here of my girlfriend. Be sure to follow her if you guys want at Andy Candy. These are some pictures that I've taken at Lava Hot Springs. So I took this photo with the iPhone 7 Plus and I took it at an angle so you guys can get like a different look. If you guys are gonna want better pictures, you wanna make sure that you get a good angle. Now, if you guys don't get good angles, then the picture is not gonna, even if you add filters and the best, you know, color grading and all of the corrections that you're gonna be making, if you do all of that and the angle is just bad, it's not gonna make up for it. So even if you have the photo good itself, like right now, this is a pretty good photo, it's unedited, it's raw from the phone, then you're pretty much good to go. Like, you can do a lot more with this just because of the angle. So if you get low angles, high angles, just play around with that. The composition makes a lot. Okay, it really does count when you do composition. So make sure that when you take a picture, you want to follow the rule of thirds and kind of make it so it's unique. Anyways, this is the photo we're going to be working with. So it might look a little bit different on the iOS version of it, but if you're on an Android, it might look a little different, but it should be the same settings. So if you click on this little save button, this will allow you to give you 3 different options. You have the save, which will save the changes onto your phone on the iOS. What it does, it pretty much modifies the original image. So it doesn't delete it, it doesn't add another image to your camera roll, it just changes it. Save as a copy, this will just save the picture on your Snapseed app, and the export will allow you to actually save the image to your camera roll. Now, over here on the 3 little dots there, you can share it, open it, and do stuff like that. You guys get the drift. Now, to actually edit, you're going to click this little pencil icon, and you will be presented with different stuff here. So you have the tools, and the tools are pretty much like your Photoshop tools and Lightroom tools, where it gives you different stuff where you can tune the image, crop it, and stuff like that. I'll get into that in a little bit. And then if you scroll down, you have the filters, which allows you to add filters. I don't really add filters that much, but you can if you want, and I'll be giving you guys a little preview on that as well. And then you have face, you have enhance and pose. I don't ever use that, so we're not gonna get into that in today's video. So what we're gonna go ahead and do first is we're gonna go onto the tune image. Here, all you gotta do is just just slide your finger left and right on the screen to increase or increase the brightness. So in this case, we're gonna go ahead and kind of increase the brightness because it's a little bit dark. The shadows are a little bit dark, but we can always increase that in the shadows filter or the shadows tool. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and kind of bring up the brightness just a tad to about 20. Cool thing about Snapseed, I'm not being sponsored to say any of this. This is not a sponsored video. The cool thing about Snapseed is if you hold down on the image, you can preview it before and after. But if you slide up and down on the screen, instead of going to the tools here on the bottom, what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna go to the contrast, and we're gonna increase the contrast a little bit, but not too much because it's already dark as it is. So we're gonna go about 10. And then the saturation, we want a little bit of that color in there because we don't have that much color because it's a little bit dark in the image because of the trees, so it blocks out the light. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna bring up those colors here, that saturation a little bit, bring in those leaves, those green in the trees. So we're already seeing a big difference here before and after. You don't want to go too overboard with the effects here because if you do, it's not going to look natural and it's just going to look bad. So just keep that in mind. And if we go to the ambience is pretty cool because this will allow you to, it's kind of like the saturation tool, but what it does, it pretty much kind of enhances the whole image itself. So if you increase it, it will kind of bring up everything that's dark and brighten it up a little bit. In this case, I'm going to bring it up just a little bit, not too much, because I don't want to overexpose. Not overexpose, you can't really overexpose the image with the ambience. Now the highlights, what this does, it pretty much brings up the highlights, pretty much the whites and the brightest part in the image. So if we bring it all the way to the left, as you can see in the sky, it really makes it dark. So if you don't want it to focus on the sky but more on the subject, in this case what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag it a little bit to the right, just a little bit, just to kind of make it pop a little bit. Now, if you tap and hold on the screen again, you can see the difference here. Now, what we're also going to do is we're going to go to the shadows, and the shadows, we're going to go ahead and either bring them up a little bit or decrease them. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit, like around 6. The warmth, this will just make the image a little warmer instead of cool. If we bring it down to the left, this would be perfect for if you have a night shot, because normally in the night it's a little bit colder. So using cooler tones makes a whole difference and it makes sense. But if we're in the day, we kind of want a little more of that warmer feel because the sun is out. If the sun is out, if there's clouds, you want to bring this to the left. But whatever works for the image that you have, then do that. In this case, I'm going to drag it to around 20. So this is the before and this is the after. It's already looking really good. The colors are coming out as well as the shadows. So we're done here. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to click on the check mark. And we're going to go back to the tools, and here we have other stuff. Depending if you have the image, if it looks a little weird, or if there's like if your fingers in the camera lens, then you guys can go to the crop and actually crop the image to your liking. So they have dimensions for like Instagram and Snapchat, maybe a little bit to the left actually, because she's not exactly in the middle. So we're gonna drag that a little bit to the right and just click the check mark. So now she's a little bit centered in the image, which is what we want. Now we have the transform. The transform option is really cool. You can change the perspective of the image. So if you slide up, like I said again, we have the vertical, horizontal, and rotation. So it gives you different settings. But if we slide left and right, we can change the perspective of this. Changing the perspective will indeed change the bodily proportions, I should say. Your mind will give you a different perspective of it. So in this case, I don't like to mess around with that. On the details, I do like to change because if we go ahead and slide up, we have structure and sharpening. The structure will make it a little bit more of that HDR tone, and it will just make it a little bit more sharp, if that makes sense. It brings out the details a lot more. So I'm just gonna go to about 14 or 13. I'm gonna go ahead and just bring up the sharpening a little bit, so it's like that. And then we have the white balance. So if the white balance is not right, you can do auto white balance, or you can manually change it to the temperature. So we have a little bit cooler, a little bit warmer. In this case, I'm gonna go a little bit warmer, just a tad. So it's already looking good. As you can see, this is the before and this is the after. Huge difference. This one looks colder. This one looks a little bit more warmer, like if she's outside, which is what we want. We have Vignette. So Vignette will, of course, make it a little bit darker on the corners or brighter if you want, if you just drag it on the right side. In this case, we're going to just drag it a little bit to the left. Not too much. Like you can barely tell. That's the point. You barely want to touch the image to where it's not overly touched, if that makes sense. We can add a healing, text, expand, curves, and that's pretty much it for the tools. Honestly, we don't have to do that much with the image. Now on the filters, we can add a lens blur. So usually the image that I've worked with has the lens blur, but if you don't, usually the 7 Plus, because it has 2 cameras, it allows you to add a depth of field look. So that's pretty cool. But if your camera doesn't do that, or if your phone doesn't do that, then you can add a fake lens blur. And you can go ahead and position this by dragging on the outer corners of this here, and we want to kind of focus on her. So if we drag left and right, we can also change the blur strength. If we tap on the circle there and we tap out of the circle, this will allow you to preview it without the lines being in the way. But if we tap that again, the circle, it will bring up the settings again. And if you double tap, this will allow you to zoom in the image. And you can scroll on with this. I think I like the lens blur because it looks nice. If you slide up, you can do the transition. The transition is the outer circle. So if you want it to kind of be a very subtle, we can increase the transition. So maybe like around there. And if we go to vignette strength, this is just the strength of the vignette on the blur. So just a tad. That looks pretty good. So we're gonna go ahead and click on the check mark. And we have glamour glow if you're taking a portrait or like a picture, like a selfie kind of thing. HDR escape is really cool because this allows you to get that real HDR look, and that looks pretty cool. But honestly, if you go to the grainy film, and this gives you that really filter, like that very vintage vibe, and you can increase the grain, and it's kind of like film grain in a way. And if you change the style strength so it's not too harsh, you can do that as well. So I'm gonna go with this one. So this is like a before and after with the filter. Not to get crazy with the style strength, but we're just gonna go at like 28 30, 29 is good. So you're already seeing a difference. This is the before and the after. Looks really good in my opinion. Once we're ready to save it, we're just gonna go ahead and click on the export button, and this will export all of your settings that you've applied the image to, or the settings to. And then once you're here, we're gonna go to the lens distortions, and these are other images that I've taken. But if we click on the one that I've exported, which is this one, it's kind of like that final touch to the image. So we can add a luminary effect here. I don't know if that will look good with this image. If we add like lights and we kind of add it in the corner, like something like that will look really cool. The light is actually coming. You can also rotate this by using your fingers, of course. It's coming straight down on her, so we can do something like that. Do we have a whole different kinds of principal lights that we can use? We can do something like that if we wanted to. So it really makes the image pop. Like this is the before, and then this is like an after if you want to do that. So when you click on the add layer, it says to select another filter. I think I like this one personally, so I'm gonna drag this. Now when you're ready to export it, click on the top right, that little icon, and click save image. And the image will be saved. Go to Instagram, go here and select your image. Go next. If you go to the edit, we can always brighten up the image just a little bit. You can go to the contrast, bring it down a little bit. This would be cool if you took a picture of a building or something that's very grunge, if that makes sense. And we can increase the warmth here. The saturation, I think the saturation is just right. From here, you're pretty much good to go. You're ready to post it on Instagram. Like I said, it's nothing too big. The composition is just right. So this is one way, of course, to edit your pictures using Snapseed and lens distortion. This is not sponsored in any way, but I just kind of wanted to share my way of editing pictures. And you can also, of course, use ViscoCam. Visco, the app, it's pretty cool, but it doesn't give you that much flexibility in terms of tuning the image. So Snapseed is for me. So if you found this tutorial helpful, please leave a like. That'd be awesome, guys. If you guys want more tutorials like this, comment down and leave a like. Be sure to subscribe, guys. Turn on the bell notification, and I'll catch you guys on my next video. Peace out, take care, and enjoy your day.